So for more insight, we now welcome Hanna Lyubakova, non-resident fellow at the Atlantic Council. Thank you so much for your time. So those were tough words there from Alexander Lukashenko, saying if neighbors commit any aggression against them, the war will take on a whole new nature. What is your take on the message he is sending to the West and to the Kremlin right now?
So first of all, the timing here is crucial. Lukashenko said these words right before the meeting with Putin that is supposed to happen tomorrow outside Moscow. And another interesting detail that last year, both of them actually met right before the full-scale invasion began. Lukashenko's words about this condition for Belarusian troops to participate in the war, I think, are addressing three audiences. First, it's the West. Lukashenko is trying to distance himself from the war. He's trying to show himself as a victim, that he has nothing to do with the war. And if anything happens, if any escalation happens, that means that he was only forced to join. He was only forced to do this because, well, there was some provocation, right, as he mentioned. Another audience is, of course, the Kremlin. He still says that he supports Russia. He would participate, as he said, in the war. So his message to the Kremlin is that he remains loyal and committed to help Russia win in every way possible. And of course, another core audience here is local audience, is Belarusians, because the idea of the deployment of troops is very unpopular right now in Belarus. And Lukashenko is trying to show the country being surrounded by enemies from every side, from Ukraine, from the West, and that's his sort of attempt to protect Belarus from these enemies.
And yet, Hanna, we know there have been these recent joint drills between Russia and Belarus. At the same time, he's now seeming to be throwing his hat in the ring as a negotiator, inviting Joe Biden to Minsk. What is he playing at here, and how is it likely to go down in Belarus?
I think that Lukashenko is very uncomfortable in this current position of a co-aggressor, so he would like to come back to this previous status quo that he had when the war in Donbass started, when in Minsk there were negotiations, when Merkel, Hollande, Poroshenko, Putin were present, and he even invited the American president right now to come to Minsk and negotiate with Putin, right? So that's his attempt to sort of be like in the middle, be this mediator. But of course it looks cynical because now Russian troops, Russian soldiers are training on the territory of Belarus, and they would go back to Russia and attack Ukraine again just because, you know, they received this training assistance in Belarus by Lukashenko's regime.
And very briefly, what more is known about the current status of relations between Vladimir Putin and Alexander Lukashenko, obviously an important strategic ally for Russia right now?
Well, the regime in Belarus supports the war in every way possible, apart from the deployment of troops, but of course, training, medical assistance, infrastructure. Russians are using everything in Belarus to attack Ukraine. Of course, Putin is using the territory of Belarus as a sort of threat still, right? Because there are troops present on a permanent basis at the moment.
Right.
And I think so basically, I think the two leaders are now playing this kind of using the territory of Belarus to create this constant danger